Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak here at the CCS virtual seminar series. I'm Arvind Singh. I'm an associate professor here in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at the UCF. I joined UCF in 2014 as an assistant professor and was promoted to associate professor in the summer of 2020. Before joining UCF, I did my PhD from University of Minnesota in civil engineering, more focused on statistical mechanics of sediment transport. And after that, I did my postdoc from National Center for Earth Surface Dynamics, more focused towards understanding the effect of climatic fluctuations on landscape evolution. Here at the UCF, my major research interests are in the field of hydrology and geomorphology. And in particular, I'm interested in river hydraulics, sediment transport, geomorphology, fluid mechanics, and their interactions as well. So in terms of teaching, what I would say, I have taught 3 undergraduate courses, which are hydrology, hydraulics, hydrogeology, and for graduate courses, I have taught advanced hydrology, hydraulic engineering, and stochastic geomorphology. Out of these undergraduate and graduate courses, we have developed here hydrogeology and stochastic geomorphology with the colleagues from the UCF. So these are some of the images which shows like my research in terms of, so these are some experimental observations, field data on the left, field data collection. And on the right shows some images which shows the mechanism of erosion and deposition from the practical point of view. So in short, if I were to say what I do with sediment transport is more like looking at the interaction between turbulence, topography, and transport. And we look for scaling behaviors in flows or the turbulence. We try to understand, say, for example, from bed topography, which is the river surface, how long does one need to sit in the field to get a meaningful measurement of average sediment transport. So can we use, say, for example, turbulence data to infer the sampling interval? Because sediment transport is very highly variable and change with the hydrograph, or it shows nonlinear behavior with the hydrograph. And this has some implications towards stormwater management and landscape evolution and so on. In terms of landscape evolution, we use both or geomorphology, we use both physical experiments as well as numerical and field data. So here on the left is an experimental setup. We have also developed the numerical models to understand these behaviors of landscapes. So in particular, we are interested in understanding how landscape reorganizes in response to increasing or decreasing climatic fluctuations. So here is an example for precipitation. So the question we are trying to address is that if you increase or decrease the precipitation, or say like a rainfall on a landscape, how does this information gets propagated on the landscape in terms of like landscape features such as river networks or hill slopes? Can we identify or can we differentiate between a steady state landscape or a transient state landscape? Or how long does this transient state landscape takes to go back to steady state landscape if we know that's the external force? And of course, like from the practical point of view, like these information can be used towards flood hazard or infrastructure resiliency. We are also interested in understanding the effect of extreme hydrologic or climatic fluctuations such as hurricanes or droughts on wetland dynamics and so on. So here for this particular talk, I wanted to show a very recent work which we are working with some colleagues and my students here at the UCF. So on the left is an experimental landscape or from the experiments which we developed. What you'll see is a video of how from a flat surface you can evolve a whole landscape with a number of basins where you can see how the rills are developing into channels, how the channels are interacting with other channels and hill slopes, and how the merging of basins happens, and so on. If we freeze this landscape at certain times, say this is at steady state or transient state, we can get a lot of information from these physical experiments. For example, if I take this particular box, which is square in shape, and take the information out, I can extract a basin. So this is 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter basin. And if you look at this on the bottom below is a natural landscape, which is on the order of 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers. So we are comparing different scales, like and trying to understand from those scales. So, and we can see how these behaves in different climatic conditions. For example, humid versus dry climate. Are there different structures associated with these particular basins and so on. So in this work, what we are interested in is to know, does topology, where when I say topology is essentially just the connections between links and nodes. Does topology influence structural and functional complexity of a river network? And again, river network is a very important feature of a basin because it transports water, sediment, and nutrient, and serves as a livelihood for millions of people around the world. So here, what we show, like, so what we have seen is drainage density, which is a very common metric used to describe landscapes or basins in geomorphology and hydrology. And what we show from here is that drainage density shows some sort of U-shaped behavior, essentially telling us that that you can have the same drainage density in very two different environments, say humid versus arid. So is there any other measure we can think of, like which can tell you a little bit more about like the signature of climate onto these river networks? So we use, so what we observed is that these two basins, although they show same drainage density, exhibit very different side branching or topology. And the side branching we quantify based on Tokunaga analysis, which is essentially parameterize network into two constants or parameters, I would say, A and C, where C tells you more about the feathering of a network or more side branching. So if I look at these two particular networks, the schematic on the left, one is a purely binary tree, which does not have any side branching. So this has a C value of 0, whereas on the right is the most possible side branching you can achieve in a network. So it has a C value greater than 0. So it's a positive C value. And this is like a schematic of a real network where you can construct the C value curve or the Tokunaga, plot the Tokunaga indices, and it shows a C value of 1.73. In fact, what we have seen is that this side branching increases with increasing mean annual precipitation. So that what it says, like if you go more in humid climate, you will start seeing the side branching. So there are channels which are coming, meeting into the main channel from the sides. They are not perfectly binary, which has been documented since 60s or something. So here, in terms of complexity, we use two different metrics onto the of the river network. One is width function, the other one is area function. Width function essentially tells you as you move from the outlet towards the channel head, how many channels do you intersect at a distance X, whereas area function tells you about the accumulated drainage area as you move from upstream, that is from channel head towards the outlet. So these are the sample or the randomly selected two basins and their area width function and area function. In terms of complexity, we define complexity as structural and functional. So structural means patterns in the structural arrangement. So how these channels are arranged onto the basin. Whereas functional complexity is patterns of flux transport onto that channel network. So how this flux of water, sediment, nutrients, or any other variable moves onto the to the basin. I mean, it can be pathogens or any other thing. For complexity, what we use is entropy to quantify. And in fact, instead of Shannon entropy, we use sample entropy, because Shannon entropy does not give you information about the arrangement of patterns. It only gives you the probabilities, whereas sample entropy gives you information about how patterns are organized on a certain system, on a two-dimensional map or a one-dimensional time series. Here we use this sample entropy at multiple scales, so we call it multiple or multi-scale sample entropy. And what we observed from this entropy or multi-scale entropy is that if we compare the width function and the incremental area function, which were the two metrics we defined earlier for the river network, incremental area function shows higher entropy first. So there are two observations which can be made from here, these curves. From the right, incremental area function shows that the incremental area function shows higher entropy, whereas width function as compared to width function. And also the slope of the incremental area function is higher. which can be seen from this particular plot, where you see the blue is the width function and red is the incremental area function. So knowing that width function only gives you information about the structural arrangement of channels, whereas incremental area function gives you the information about both channel networks as well as hill slopes. If we take the difference between these two curves, it should give you the contribution of the hill slopes. And this is what on the bottom plot we see, the difference between the red and the blue curve. So what we see is as we increase the scale, this complexity increases and peaks at a scale of somewhere around 45, 50 meters. From an independent analysis of the basin, what we notice that if we measure the hill slope length, which is essentially the length from a randomly selected point on a hill slope to the channel, and take an average, this average hill slope length is similar to the scale what we observed from the entropy analysis, where we observe the peak, suggesting that indeed the hill slopes contribute to the significant contribute significantly to the complexity of a basin, and both structural and functional complexities are controlled by topological connectivity. So I'll be short. I mean, in terms of like a funding agency, I mean, this work has been supported by National Science Foundation, National Center for Earth Surface Dynamics, American Chemical Society, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and I would like to thank CHAMPS Lab, where the computational facilities are provided. We also use Stokes as well, like I should have put it here. We have several people who have collaborated on these projects from UCF as well as from outside the UCF. In terms of my short-term versus long-term goals, I would be more interested in working towards more network-based approaches to quantify these landscapes, features, and at some point I would like to get into this control theory, specifically the optimal mass transport problem, that to know, I mean, if you have a parcel of sediment, how does it transport down to the outlet, and can we, like from the PDFs and so on, we can understand that. So I would, since this particular work, what I do here needs expertise from different branches of science and engineering, I would be very happy to collaborate with people from electrical engineering, computer science, industrial engineering, if I can find some, and I'll try to contact with, and of course, I mean, I'm already collaborating with some professors here at in the College of Engineering and Computer Science. With that, I would be happy to take any questions if there is any.